Every individual grieves in unique ways. No two people will ever share grief reactions that are exactly the same. And as many similarities that may exist, each individual's grief is their own unique fingerprint on how they process loss. The way an individual processes grief will vary from person to person. Grief is unpredictable and can be overwhelming. While some people will suffer greatly due to their loss, others will experience less intense emotions. Some may not experience grief at all or until some years later. Acknowledging that people process their emotions differently, even when suffering from the same loss or type of loss, is essential to understanding how healing from grief works. There are many types of grief, ranging from the ordinary to multi-layered and complex. As individuals experience loss or suffer through traumatic events in their lives, the way they respond to suffering will depend on factors linked to their personalities, past experiences, current condition, health, and mental well-being. These are only some of the things contributing to why people grieve differently from one person to another. A person's psychological makeup also has a lot to do with tolerating stressful situations and emotional responses. A person who is emotionally mature and spiritually grounded may be more successful at coping with the grief than someone young and inexperienced in dealing with death and loss. While different grief reactions are common among grieving individuals, even in the same household, these responses will depend on many factors. Everyone's emotional and chemical responses are unique to their personalities and biological makeup. Additionally, the relationship to the person who died also affects how a person grieves their loss. Other considerations include every household member's personality style, how they typically cope with stressful situations, and their outside social support. All of these things combined lend themselves to the differences in grieving styles and grief reactions from one person to the next, even when they're residing in the same household. Experts such as psychologists and grief researchers have conducted studies on how long grief lasts and the various stages of grief. Their findings conclude that everyone has a different path to processing their grief as they heal from loss. Not only does grief affect individuals differently, but also shows up in many different ways depending on the person affected and the situation leading up to the loss. I will include the link to this article in the description, but I wanted to share these parts in this video because many need to understand not everyone will grieve the same. I also have done a video in regards to the 5 stages of grief. I will also link that in the description.
Since you've been